they're
Yeah.
needed. But if you take out one of the sports, you lessen half of the workload, and you can dedicate more time to that one sport. Then when that
Yes.
season's over, go to the next sport, which is what used to happen. You had a baseball season, you had a football season, you had basketball. After basketball, that was over. You did track, but they were all
Yes.
separated. They didn't
separated.
interconnect with each other.
Yes.
But today, well, my kid wants to do everything.
They
Again,
always
if
will.
your kid just wants to eat Skittles all day, is that okay too? Welcome everybody to the SFBA
Hey.
podcast. We are on episode, I fill in the blanks, but we're here. we are moving. Again, it's been a while since we got back on. Coach Ken, Coach White here. And today we're going to be talking about overuse injuries, pain, soreness. When is it too much? When is it not enough? And go from there. But before we do that, let's do some check-ins real quick. Coach Ken, how is everything going?
What's up?
What's up?
Man, going good. Got 2 tournaments left. We get done in October, so we have one this weekend coming up, and then we have another one the following weekend. So, everything's going fine. Again, it's cool to see what you can get done in a shortened season because you only go for 2 months. But I feel like the guys that I have, everybody gets better. Everybody's getting a little bit better. Understanding more about basketball, understanding more about what their responsibilities are, what their limitations are, right? What their goals are. So I really focused on jump shooting this last week, and they're all excited. Yes, we want to jump shoot, and then I take them through my shooting, and they go, "Oh, my arms are tired, my legs." So it's really interesting to see how they progress through the different actions that we do during our shooting practices, and just kind of they really see the level of intensity and the intent you have to have when you're going through these different drills when you are shooting. Again, you can take a kid through a 30-minute shooting workout and they're going to be, tired as opposed to them going to a place and shooting for an hour by themselves. And I'm not saying that doesn't have any value because there is some value in that too. But no, everything's going really good. I feel good about, where these guys are going to go, and they're going to be 9th grade next year. So just really asking them questions about like high school, where they're going to go, are they going to try for their team? What are they doing to prepare for their team? How's the team look this year? So I definitely really got into getting more into the high school for them just to kind of see where their head's at. Because, you never really know unless you ask, and especially them ask them, hey, go to some games this year. Go check it out. If that's where you're going to go to high school, go look. Go see what the coach is like. Go introduce yourself to the coach. Hey, my name's so-and-so. I'm going to be going here next year. I just wanted to come, watch some of your games. And, I look forward to playing with you or playing for you, whatever. I mean, introduce yourself. Just go check the games out and, kind of see what the competition might look like and kind of see what the level of play is. So something that's what we could talk about another day. But other than that, everything's going good, man.
Topic.
Yeah. How about you? What's going on?
Pretty good. You brought up the practices in this season. We're in our fall season for our AAU teams. And if you actually condense it, all the practice hours that we've had for the whole season, or that we will have, it's 24 hours. So if we stayed in the gym for one entire day, that would be the whole season.
Wow.
So it's really about making sure that with the limited practices you have, you make them count. Every practice has to be meaningful because you don't have like 4 or 5 months. You got 8 weeks, 2 practices a week, 90 minutes a day. So this practice has to lead to something. The next practice has to lead to something. And you want to make sure you're building. So when you look back at your practice, you feel like, okay, I saw how it flowed. The players can see progression from what we're doing one step to the next. So it's easier to show them and their families, oh, that was your plan. That's how that makes sense. That's how they're progressing. So it's really been cool to see. I think my 5th grade team has really been doing good. I spent a lot of time focusing more on culture, a ton of high fives, a lot of running. But it was all with intentions, right? I always look at kids and think, where do they find the most room for conflict? And it's when they start blaming each other. A guy does something wrong, we run. A guy misses a shot, we lose a game. A guy makes a bad pass, it's a turnover. Oh, what are you doing? Why is this? What? It's him. I said, no, you all make mistakes. What we do is, first we own it.
Hmm.
Then your teammates recognize it, say, it's all good. We got your back. You high five, you get to it, and you go back to work. And I'm watching them do that without me reminding them. Like a guy will do
Hmm.
something in a drill, and I'm like, all right, I said, if you do this, we run. And so
Yep.
now they'll all walk up. It's okay, we got you. Don't worry about it. And they get on the
Hmm.
line, they do their run, they get back to work, they high five
Yeah.
again, and they go
Yep.
back. And I'm watching
Yep.
like, that's what I like. That's what a
That's
team
right.
should be, you know.
Hmm.
So that's what I've been most proud of,
Yeah.
and it's it's cool because when you come off of a long spring summer season, and then you
Hmm.
head almost right into fall, you're just
Yep.
like, oh god, I need more time to rest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It happens
it's
that
good and
way.
it's bad. You know, it's you don't want the season to be over in some way,
Yep.
but you kind of do.
Hmm.
You're
Sure.
just like, I need that mental rest, that recovery.
Sure.
You know, I don't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
go to the gym again tonight and then
Yeah.
another night. It's like, just give me a little
Yeah.
bit of time to rest my brain, not even think about the team for today. And then
Yep.
at some point, start thinking about next year,
Hmm.
practice plans, your
Yep.
rosters, you know,
Yeah.
talking to families,
Tryouts. Oh my
preseason
gosh.
meetings.
Yep.
So yeah, it's all a part of the process, but
Yep.
it's fun nonetheless.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, want to bring up the topic we introed with, and one thing we're looking at talking about is overuse, injuries,
Yep.
and that could be caused through a number of things, right?
Hmm.
I think you mentioned before we started recording, you know, just like repetitive movements done over and over
Hmm.
again, you know, that aren't necessary. Players are already injured, but being forced to play again. Players aren't prepared physically for the demands that
Yep.
they're being asked to do,
Hmm.
or just accidents, right? Like you never know. Like anybody could get hurt doing anything. But
Yep.
what I want to ask is, in your case as a coach, where do you notice players suffering from the overuse bug the most,
Hmm.
right? Like looking at your teams now or in the past, where does
Yeah.
overuse come into play, and how has that hurt your team in the process?
Generally speaking, overuse comes into play when you have kids who are multi-sport athletes. Generally, um, it's just kind of it's just one of the natural things that can happen over a season. You know, you have kids who play soccer, and you have kids who play basketball at the same time, and you have kids playing baseball as well. Or um, I really see the injuries come in with the multi-sport athletes. There's just so much use in such a small amount of time. It just puts a lot of strain on a lot of joints, a lot of ligaments. I've had kids in the past suffer just from knee tendonitis, and they don't have time to actually rest. I asked one of my guys recently, "Hey, when do you rest? Well, what do you mean? Like when do you rest? Like when's your rest day?" And they kind of looked up and maybe Thursday. Oh no, I have something to do then too. So it you can see at practice, and I think this is something that as a coach, I'm sure you've seen it, where you see kids just kind of worn down, and you see kids just really kind of struggling to. You can see the energy's not there. You can see that they're physically, they may be mentally there, but you can see that they're physically tired. But generally speaking, for me, from what I've seen, it's been multi-sport athletes. I've also seen kids playing on multiple basketball teams at once,
Yeah,
um, or even just not letting an injury heal properly because they're consistently doing something. Like I don't let kids play if they're hurt. One of my kids, his toe was hurt. He had two bruises on his toes, and he's like, "I think I can go." And I'm like, "No, you can't. There's no maybe here. You're not 100%. You're going to sit down because once your joint, your ligament, once your wherever it is, once it's compromised, right, is going to get hurt a lot easier than it would be if you were 100%. So
yeah,
that's just my philosophy. If I see a kid's hurt, having a lingering injury, it's not worth this one game. It's not worth this one weekend. If I can have you 100% in 2 weeks, I'd rather that. But that's just how I view it because I know what can happen when the kid's playing on a compromised, when their body's compromised. And it's
sure.
never going to be good for me. It's not going to be good for them. And it's not going to be good for the parents. Just because now they're missing everything. So that's just kind of my experience with it. Multi-sport athletes generally have they're most prone to overuse injuries.
Yeah, I think there are definitely a number of factors that contribute to overuse. I think one of them, like you said, are the athletes, the ones that have the speed, the strength, the agility, that are just, they're the workhorses. They can play any sport and be amazing.
Yep.
I think another factor that people often miss are the kids that aren't, the ones that aren't that athletic, the ones that don't have those strength qualities, that aren't able to get into the proper positions, but they're forced to play at a competitive level, or they're put into a competitive environment, and they're trying to keep up. I've been looking at a lot of those overlanding videos of those 4x4s, like forerunners and trucks, and they drive, up in the mountains over rocks. But they have to go through all these modifications. They've got to get new suspension, new tires, struts, wheels. They got to get, everything so they can survive. But if you just threw like a regular car out there to go rock climbing or driving through the terrain, it's not going to make it.
It ain't going to make it. You're right.
And I like to compare, people to cars sometimes, right? Like the car needs to have certain qualities to meet certain demands. Athletes are the same thing. I remember having kids years ago, and they would always have hamstring issues. And I'm like, well, because you have weak hamstrings. You don't do anything to strengthen your hamstrings, your legs, your quads, your knees are always hurt, your anterior tibs, your lower leg strength. You need better suspension. You need better tires. You need better wheels.
Right.
And you can get that through strength training, through speed development, through stretching, mobility work, stability work. It's a whole menu. But people tend to miss that part, and they just want their kids to go out there and I want my kid to compete. I want my kid to participate. I want my kid to be involved. I'm going to throw them in sports because it's fun. This is awesome. But when your starting point is AU basketball, that's like saying I'm going to buy a Honda Civic, and my starting point is driving through Death Valley on the hottest day on earth and hoping I can make it. You're probably not. But we're looking at kids, human beings. Now, I can change my tires. I can't just replace your ankles. I can't just replace your knees. You need to build those things up, and that takes time. And I think overuse is not so much just am I putting too much overuse to this kid? It's can this kid handle the use he's being used for? So if this kid is not as strong in areas, his overuse might be a lot less time than the higher level athlete, right? And again, it's just two sides of a coin, right? Like the kid that isn't athletically gifted yet or hasn't built up those qualities, and then the kids that have, but then they're just being put to use every single day. So it's really important to look at every athlete, individual by individual. And in your case, like you said, your team, you've got a bunch of pretty solid athletes, guys that play soccer, baseball, football, some do track, volleyball. So they're all over the place. And then you have the kids that don't really play that many sports, but then want to feel involved. They want to participate. But when your starting line is AAU basketball, it's not really where you want to begin. If you're not physically ready for the demands. Because then you're looking at other things. Well, maybe I need a new trainer. So now this kid's going to be doing extra work. And he wasn't even ready for the regular work. So that's where it's always, and you try to tell parents too, right, and players, hey, I think your kid needs this. Oh, okay, that's great. Well, maybe I can find a different trainer or maybe another team. Or this is one thing I thought about the other day. When you tell people that, you usually they don't say it to you, but they'll say it to themselves, and you'll find it later. I just got to find a coach that believes in my kid. It's like,
I've heard that.
But the thing is, I believe in your kid's ability to be successful if he's able to make these improvements. Right? Like, I have to go through these steps first. But you just want me to believe in him and hope like it's magic. This isn't a Disney video. Right? This isn't like, the Mighty Ducks. Like, if we just all form together and we'll make it. No, it's like you've got to put forth real work. And that could take weeks, months, maybe years for some people. So overuse is a bug that should be avoidable in some cases. But through just lack of attention to detail in some areas, I think it really just hurts people, especially the kids.
Honestly, I'll go a little further and say I think it's completely avoidable. Overuse is simply that, overuse. I feel like you have to know your limitations as a player, and I think the parents should know the limitations of their children. So if we go a little back, depending on the age, okay, um, and depending on the workload that you're putting them through, if it's more like park and rec, CYO type thing, you're right. I think that's a good starting point. You can kind of see where they are, and then you're going to have to make a judgment at some point to say, is my child physically prepared for this? If you're younger, right, it's a little easier to kind of gauge it. You know your kid when they're young, but as they get older, right, there's a separation that happens. I think it's for me from what I've seen, it's around fifth to sixth grade, 10 to 11. I start to see a bit of a separation between the kids who are serious athletes and the kids who are just kind of casuals. The ones that are casuals will tend to stay in just a little longer, and then they'll realize that they are casual, and then they will just take the puck and wreck. And then the ones who take it more seriously, they'll go on to try to do more things. But that also means that they're willing to put more of a strain on their bodies because you can see that they are gaining some momentum in the prospective part that they're playing, right? So whatever they're doing and whatever you've been doing, it seems to be working, right? Because they're getting the reps in. You see them; they're getting better. But as they get a little older, you don't see as far as a progression or as quickly as a progression as you do from when they first start to where they are now. So I think if you start to track it or you try to track it, your kid's going to get a little stale maybe in your head, but because the changes are going to be more minuscule, right? They're going to be more fine. So I think what that it happens, I think when that does happen, I think they get into this thing. Well, he just has to play more. We got to get him. I'm not seeing the growth from him that I used to see, so we got to play more. So let's
Yeah.
put him on this team. Let's put him on this team. Okay, well he needs more foot. Let's do this soccer thing. But what they're doing is they're failing to really look at the athlete as a whole, right? And that's our job as coaches, is to look at the athlete as a whole to say, head to toe, what is he doing? Top to bottom, what does he need? How are his feet? How's his ankle mobility? How is his hip mobility? Is he in shape? How is he moving? Because I don't just look at a kid to see, oh, can they dribble? Great, cool. Everybody at a certain age can dribble. Everybody can do throughs. Everybody can do behind the back crossovers, all that. And now the degrees of difficulty or how easy it is to them does vary because there's some kids who have a better understanding of their bodies than others. But I'm not just looking at that. I'm also looking at their feet. I'm looking at how they turn. I'm looking at what the crossover step looks like. I'm looking to see, how their body moves. And if I see them, and then once I get them, if I see they're always hurt, there's something always wrong with my back. There's always something wrong with his hamstring, like you said, his hamstrings. His ankles are always sore. His. I mean, if you see these things, I think it's better to make an emphasis on his recovery than it is to keep throwing him at different sports because you as a parent aren't seeing the growth that you saw from the age of 6 to 12. So, and I've heard that. So along with saying, I just need to find another trainer, maybe I need to find another team. Excuse me, I've heard when you said you heard, I need to find somebody that believes in him, right? I've
Hmm.
heard, I just got to find another team to play for. I'm just going to put him on another team. I just don't, I feel like he's not getting better. But again, I think they have a misconception of what growth is. And if they're not seeing it as their brain wants to see it, it automatically turns into he needs to play more. I've heard that more since I've been
Hear
coaching
that
than
all the
anything
time.
else. He just has to play more. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, so I suggest you do this, this, this. You can have a full list every year that I coach. After the fall season, I have a check-in with the parents and the player. What do you think you did well? What do you think you need to work on? This is what I see. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say to me, he just has to play more. Okay, this is what I noticed. And he's tired after like running up and down the court 3 times. They got to pull him. Or you can see he's winded all the time. Like his conditioning isn't that good. He needs to work on these things. He just has to play more. Okay, so I think again, as a parent, I feel like you really have to start looking at the athlete as a whole and stop putting your mentality as far as what you think they should be doing or where you think they are in front of where they actually are and what they actually need. So if you're
Yeah.
hiring people to do these things, right, at least take what they're saying into consideration as opposed to just completely writing it off and saying he just has to play more basketball and then he'll get to where I feel like he should be. And that's not going to work. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking that I want to do, and I want to talk to you guys about this, is creating an actual checklist of standards for
Mm.
athletes coming into next season. And
Yeah.
that includes, things like strength qualities, how many
Mm.
push-ups can you do, how long does it take you to run a mile? Not that the
Hmm.
mile is like the biggest indicator
Sure.
of success in basketball, but
Hmm.
certain qualities that athletes will have to lead up to in
Sure.
preparation for next season. Like if you're in college,
Yeah.
and you're getting ready for the upcoming season, there's probably a
Mm.
set of standards. You'll
Oh,
have
yeah.
probably your assessment in the preseason, in the off
Hmm.
season, in season, where you're at, and your strength coaches, or probably the head coach, will tell the strength coach, "Here's some things I need all my players to do." I think
Sure.
I don't know if I heard this right, but I think back when Bill Self, who coaches at Kansas, when he was at Illinois, and they had their big run years ago in the '90s in the
Hmm.
NCAA tournament. I think he had a thing where, and don't quote me, but I think he had a thing where all of his players had to bench at least 225 for a certain amount of times. Don't
Wow.
know why, but
Sure.
something about it seemed to work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So whatever it is, right? Here are standards coming into the season you need to meet. If you don't
Yeah.
meet these standards, whether it's this many push-ups, this many squats, running a mile time in this time, running
Hmm.
a 10-yard sprint in this many seconds,
Sure.
then you may not either get the playing time you're looking for, or maybe you just don't make the team. Like,
Sure.
if you don't hit certain numbers,
Mm.
because the standards aren't just to say, hey, look what you can do, this makes you a better athlete. Yeah, maybe it does. But it's more so, if you hit these standards, you probably have these strength qualities. You
Yeah.
probably have the muscles, the posture,
Hmm.
the mobility, the stability, the endurance to endure the things that we're going to put you through during a season, the things that you're going to face in games. But what we tend to see a lot of times, and we're going to see it in tryouts, right? How many
Yeah.
kids are we going to watch walk in the gym and they're out of shape? They're not
Yes.
that fast. They're not that
Yep.
quick. You're watching ankles roll left to
Hmm.
right, and nothing's really working for them the way that they want it to or the way we need it to.
Yeah.
But it could be fixed if they were to work on those qualities, strength
Yes.
training, and again, just functional strength training. If they just did basic things at home, right,
Yeah.
on a regular basis,
Push up, sit up,
you could
squats.
solve a lot of those problems, right?
Sure.
Like proper squats, learning how to
Hmm.
hinge, squat, push, pull, upper, lower, rotate, anti-rotate.
Hmm.
Like get the basic movement patterns into it. That's going to apply to a lot of sports that they play. But
Sure.
because all they want to do is play the sport, and most of them play it wrong, they shoot the ball
Sure.
wrong, they dribble wrong, they step
Yeah.
wrong. It's like you're going to get hurt, but you're constantly putting these kids that are not ready athletically
Hmm.
into a high athletic environment.
Sure.
So if you create a set of standards, hey, your kid's got to be able to run a mile in this time. Between now and the start of the season at the end of March next year, they've
Yeah.
got this time to do it. You come in, you didn't do it, we got problems. But if you
Sure.
have, it's going to show. Your running is probably going to be better. Your movement quality is probably better. Your endurance is probably better. So when we're pushing you in practice, we can do a little more. Instead of getting a text message, hey, coach, just letting you know my kid can't make it tonight. His knee hurts. It's like,
His legs are
well,
sore. Yeah.
he hasn't done anything. And now you want him
Yeah.
to come to practice. And
Hmm.
then because we had one day of practice and he's so out of shape, it's our fault now. So we
Right.
have to scale down what we do because your kid's
Right.
not ready because they're out of shape.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that holds us back. And then when they play in a game, well, I just think my kid needs to play more. How can I, when you keep holding him out of practice because he's always sore, it's
Mm.
overuse, he's being overworked because he comes to practice twice a week? Like, get out of
Yeah.
here with that. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
preparation. And so in my mindset, if players are going to play at this level and understand what it's about, they're going to prepare. But because
Yeah.
they spend so much time just playing, and there's such a high emphasis on games, they're never actually preparing.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the more they do that, I think they're just going to
Right.
lead to more injuries.
Yeah. I mean, like you're talking about college, they have actual conditioning tests. You can go online and Google them. They'll they have conditioning tests for colleges that you have to be able to complete a very specific amount of um, line drills that you have to be able to do, a very specific one in succession that you have to be able to complete. It's very, very important. I know you go to these tryouts and you see these kids running in the gym, they're late. None of them have foam rolled. None of them have done any warm up whatsoever. And then they get out there and you can see they're already beat before you even get going. Um, Even if we go back to the multi-sport athletes, right, having kids come into practice before, for practice where it just came from another practice, right? So like you said, scaling it back. You know, I in my head, I say, okay, they're playing multiple sports. I kind of have to make a concession. Um, and then I'll see them giving me half effort. I tell kids, hey, I don't care where you were before. You're here now. I need your effort. If you're not going to give me effort, get out. Don't don't cheapen the effort you're giving me because you gave your all to your other coach. Whatever sport it is, soccer, baseball, whatever it is. Don't cheat me out of your effort because you're tired. If you can't do both, pick one. If you want to do that, do that. It's fine. No problem. But don't cheat the effort that you're supposed to give me because you just gave the other place all of your time and all of your effort, because that's not fair to me. It's not fair to your teammates.
Yeah.
So, I think that, you know, at some point when they get to high school, right, when they get to high school, generally the sports that they want to play aren't at the same time. A lot of them, they don't run at the same time. So they do have that break in between. But if they continue to try to do club aspect in the middle of their high school stuff, then you might run into some issues. But I have a hard time believing you're going to be playing AAU basketball at the same time you're playing for your high school team. That won't
Well, they
happen.
can't.
You're not going to have
That's
the time.
against the
Right.
rules.
Yes,
So,
against the
yeah.
rules. Right. So, again, get it in now is their idea. And then we'll see what happens when the high school stuff starts. But again, are you preparing? Because I've asked, how are you preparing even to go to practice? How are you preparing? What are you doing? Are you sitting at home doing nothing? Are you rolling out before? Or are you like, what are you doing? I mean, luckily for us, um, we have some of the kids who are, if we have practice 7:30, they're able to get in there at 6. They go through all the dynamic movements that you would need to get it warm up so that when practice starts, they're already ready to go. Um, but if you don't have that luxury and your practice actually starts at 6, what are you doing, or what are you having your child do before your practice starts? Are they foam rolling before practice starts? Because as we don't have all that much time. So if all the time I'm wasting getting foam rolling or doing dynamic stretches prior, right, I could be teaching basketball, which is what you want me to do. So I think the preparation piece is missing from a lot of, you know, from a lot of the parents' mentalities when it comes to their multi-sport athlete. I think that preparation piece is severely lacking in a lot of ways, and everything is fixable. You can change that. You just have to put the effort in to get your kid enough rest so they can recover in time, so they can have the maximum amount of recovery before they do whatever sport they're going to do. And I think
Yeah.
that is the biggest issue, is that they don't prioritize recovery, and they only prioritize play. So not only do the kids want to play all the time, their parents want them to play all the time. Who is going to deal with the kids' recovery? Who is going to keep them from being hurt so they can play? And I think that's a big piece that's
It's
missing
called
from a
rest,
lot of.
coach. It's called, we're going to take off your practice. We're going to rest that day.
Yep.
And then we'll come back once he feels like the pain is gone.
Yes.
And when it comes back again, we're going to send you another text message saying we're resting again.
Yes.
But what they don't get
Yep.
is this: rest is helpful. It's necessary. It
Yeah.
is a part of the process.
Right.
It is not the solution. Right? It's like getting into an argument and saying, you know what? We're arguing. Let's take some time out. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
It didn't solve the argument.
Didn't solve the problem.
When you
Sure.
come back tomorrow, the argument will creep up again
Yeah.
until it gets solved.
Hmm.
Injuries, pain, soreness is the same thing. Yes, coach, my knee hurts. I'm taking the day off. That's what you choose to do. I can't stop you.
Right.
Come back 2 days later. Hey, I feel better. We start running. Oh, coach, my knee.
Hmm.
I know. I know. Because you've done nothing to actually solve the problem. You
Right.
just let the pain go away. The
Sure.
soreness is gone because the repetitive movements, the contact, the running, that wasn't
Hmm.
taking place. But
Right.
when you come back, you're still not physically ready to
Still
handle the
not ready.
demands that are going to be asked
Exactly.
of you.
Hmm.
And then you still want to play games?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have my kid miss practice because I want to make sure he's ready for the game.
Yeah.
How many times I hear that so many times,
I
Coach?
yes. Yep.
My kid's going to take off this week because he's
Yep.
feeling sore, but I'll make sure he's ready for the game. We're going to ice it and get him
Yeah.
all ready, and he'll be there game day.
To be their game day,
So
ready to go.
you missed everything we practiced. You missed all the
Hmm.
plays, all the stuff. And what I end up doing is not putting in new plays, not putting in new
Exactly. I
sets,
don't. Exactly.
because
I
I
don't
don't
put in
want
new
him coming
plays.
in confused.
Right.
But I couldn't really do anything else. So we're working
Right.
on the same thing. So when this kid or these kids show up on game day,
Hmm.
we're not running something. Oh, what was that? Oh, what was this? Oh, coach, can you take extra time to go through these plays again with my kid
Yeah.
because he wasn't there for the whole week? He couldn't even just come to practice to watch to make
Yep.
sure he got the information.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, look, I'm going to teach what I'm going to teach. If you're here, you're here. You're not, you're not. But I
Right.
try not to make it confusing, right? Because then
Sure.
if I teach too much, you missed a lot. So then I end up kind of holding the team back a little bit.
Yes.
But yeah, if you're not going to solve what the actual issue is, and a lot of times it's just kids lack certain strength qualities,
Hmm.
you're going to keep running into the same problems. Like kids have, oh, their knees, their knees. Well, I'm looking at you. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell. Like I can almost look at a kid and tell what's wrong with you. Oh, you have this. And they may not know it,
Hmm.
but unless you fix these areas, you're going to continue to have these shin splints, these knee
Yeah.
problems, this
Yeah.
hamstring issue,
Hmm.
this back issue, which we've seen in kids, right?
Yes.
How are you having back problems
You're way too young
already
to have
and
back
you're
problems.
12, 13,
Yeah. That's.
14?
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, the additional training sessions are helping, right? Like, let's work on the
Yeah.
next Euro step.
Let's work on the next
Forget the
Euro.
back
Let's work on
problems.
these
Let's make sure
handles.
the Euro step is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, and again, right? I don't. I don't want people to misunderstand the purpose of the conversation. It's a tough conversation to have with some parents because they don't want to hear it because it sounds like you're attacking how they're parenting their child, and that's not what I'm doing. It's not what you're doing. But we do see and we have to deal with these glaring issues that we know are issues, that we know are problems, that we know if you're able to fix them, you're going to be able to have better quality of play from your player. So I don't want people to think about this as we're talking bad about how you choose to parent your child. We're trying to help you guys so they can play more, so their bodies are more prepared for the workload that you're asking them to be able to play, that you expect them to be able to play. And if you guys as parents and we as parents can do that, the quality of play will go up. They will be able to handle that workload, and you will be able to enjoy them play a lot longer and always be healthy for the most part, because you do have to deal with injuries if you're playing contact sports, you're playing, high level sports, you're going to deal with injuries. But we're trying to get you guys to be able to enjoy that more and enjoy it longer by making sure you're taking care of these issues that you know are issues, right? Because again, if I have kids who are injured, I say stay home. Don't come to practice hurt. Because if you come to practice and you go, hey man, yeah, my legs are really, really hurt right now. I can't run. Why are you here? Go home. If you can't give me 100%, I don't want you. I don't. Let me rephrase. I'd rather them come to practice. But I know that if I have to walk over there and consistently talk to them to keep them engaged, that could be a potential issue. You could be a distraction. So if
Yeah,
you
it's
are
not
going to
worth it at that
come,
point.
it's not worth it at that point. If I have to constantly say, "Hey, pay attention." If you're not going to get anything out of the practice, and I know you're not going to get anything out of the practice, just stay home. Or even this, if it's in the middle of the season and I'm not going over anything new, I'm not going over any sets. I'm not going over any inbounds plays. I'm not doing anything. We're working on jump shooting. We're working on whatever, just these little small adjustments to specific players. Stay home. If you're hurt, I'm okay with that. Because again, at that point, you're going to be a distraction because you're going to be trying to get your teammates' attention. Every time there's a water break, you're going to be talking to them as opposed to them coming back and running back to get back to what we were doing. If you're going to be a distraction, I'd much rather you stay home. But if you come to practice to practice. Don't come to practice if you're not going to contribute to the practice. If you're not going to be standing next to me, really making sure, whatever's happening, hey, go get me this or go get me, depending on what the injury is. But I've heard that many times where players say, hey, coach, I'm going to come to practice, but I can't do anything because I did this, and this today. So I'm really, really sore. I can't even walk up the stairs. Yeah. Wait a minute. What are we doing here? So you basically are telling me that you knew you had practice tonight. And those things that you did earlier were more important than my practice. That's what you're saying to me. And if that's how you feel, okay. But what do I do with that? So I think, again, I'm not trying to tell people how to parent. I just want people to understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to help you understand what overuse is, trying to help you understand what you can do to fix it. And we're trying to help you, fix it so you can enjoy your kids playing a lot longer and, they can actually handle the expectations that you and they have on themselves.
Yeah, and I think those are two different things. I think parenting and coaching and in this world are just the decisions that we're asking parents to evaluate, right?
Right.
I don't really consider that so much parenting. Like how you raise your child, that's parenting.
Yeah.
Whether you decide to have them go to practice or not, that's just your decision. I think it's more based off of the fact that we're looking at it from a lens that is different from theirs.
Yeah.
Like I heard somebody say before, you don't know what you don't know until you know it, right? So as I'm looking at your kid and I'm making an assessment on their movement qualities, their injuries or what could lead to an injury, I'm looking at that from a set of information and knowledge that I have, that I've learned over the years. They're looking at as a concerned parent or a parent with their own ideas. It's not right or wrong. It's just how they view it through their lens. And so I don't really consider that parenting. So again, I'm not criticizing you as a parent. Like,
no,
your kid's ankles are broken and it's your fault, mom. Your parenting sucks. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that if people are going to get into the world of youth sports and go at the competitive level, not just your recreation or your CYO, I'm talking about we're doing this. We want to play against the best teams. I want my kid to be one of the best players. He wants this. She wants this. We're going all in. If that's the world you're getting into, you have to start to look at the menu. What's a part of the process? Training, team skills, strength training, recovery, activation, sleep, nutrition, academics, school, homework. If you're in high school, looking at your SATs, college, like there's this big circle and this is a big pie chart. And you have to start to see which pieces of the pie can be bigger, which can be smaller, and measure that out. That can help you get to your goals. But what the pie tends to look like is games, practice, games, homework, practice, games. And then maybe some McDonald's. And when we're looking at it from that way, and people say, hey, maybe take some of these games out.
Yeah.
Let's include some recovery days in here. Okay, maybe today your child has to decide, are you playing football and basketball this season? Now, if they're just recreation, one practice a week, not much going on, maybe not a big deal. But maybe if you're playing, like I just found out that one of the kids on my team, he's playing football. I think it's like flag football, I think, and then basketball.
Okay.
Now, he's a pretty solid athlete. I look at him. I'm like, wow, this kid's got it. But he's able to keep it together. Seems like school's okay. Athletically, he's fine. Not really any issues. Could there be some in the future? Maybe. But it seems like whatever their family's doing, they're figuring out what needs to go into the pie. But like you said, some families, some things need to be taken out. And it's hard to make that choice as a kid.
It is.
And so as parents, sometimes you need to make that choice. Okay, this year, you're getting older. You're playing at higher levels. It's a little more competitive. There's more demanded of you. There's more on the
Yes.
line. It's going to
Yes.
cost more money. Like all this goes into it.
Correct.
Do we really want to be a part of all these sports programs, all these training sessions, all these
Yeah.
workouts? They're
Yeah.
needed, but if you take out one of the sports, you lessen half of the workload and you can dedicate more time to that one sport. Then when that
Yes.
season's over, go to the next sport, which is
Yep.
what used to happen. You had a baseball season, you had a football season, you had basketball. After basketball, that was over. You did track, but they were all
Yes.
separated. They
All
didn't
separated.
interconnect with each other.
Yes.
But today, well, my kid wants to do everything.
Okay. They
Again,
always
if your
will.
kid just wants to eat
Yeah.
Skittles all day, is that okay too? Like,
Right.
stop using that excuse. Well, my kid
Sure.
just wants to. It's like, no, like, that's where you're the parent. That's
Sure.
where you need to look at what's safe and what's not. But then when you sign them up with us or somebody else, you're going to take away from what we need to do for them. But you're
Yeah.
not going to take away the expectations you have of us.
Exactly.
You're not.
Exactly.
My kid's got to
Right.
get to here. My kid needs this. My kid's this
Right.
level. Yeah, but you usually don't tell me all the things he already does,
Sure.
all the training he does. So I have no idea. In my mind, he goes to school, he sees me.
Yep.
But what might be happening is, in my mind, he goes to school, then he has training with this guy and this guy. He has a workout with this guy. He plays on this team I don't know about. Then he comes to play with me. And then he has
Yep.
games. And then somehow you make those games work. Then you come to our games. And it's just this whole mess. And for all we know, this kid's practicing and training every single day. And maybe he gets, I don't know, 6 hours of sleep when he gets home to do homework and then eat.
Yep.
And he's 12. So I don't.
Yeah. No.
Choices
I
have to be
mean,
made, man.
they do. And again, if you pick me, great. If you pick basketball and that's what he wants to do, and he's making the choice, cool. If he picks something else, cool. At the end of the day, I don't. You don't owe me. I mean, honestly, if you want to break it down, you owe you. He owes himself, and you only owe yourself when you're a player and as a parent. The expectations that you have to be realistic, and if they can meet those. And I think again, you brought up a great point when you said, well, they want to do it. They want to do everything. If my kids want to do everything, if they can take every class, they'll take every class. If they can put them in on every team, they'll play on every team. They would do it. Anything. If I let them do it, they'll do it. So you're right. At some point, you do have to make a decision. Say, hey, it's going to be tough. I know you like these guys. I know you like your coach. I know you like playing with them. I know it's great. I know you do. But we have to make a decision. And you're right. At some point, if you take that time that you would be spending at the other sport, you can use that to train, which was only going to make you that much better in the sport that you chose. So why not do that? Um, there's no negative to that other than missing playing with some people that you have met over the years, or you
Yeah.
miss playing that coach, because you can always play basketball at some point. So it's not going to be fun. It's going to be hard, but you just got to try to make the best decision for your player and make the best decision for you. Um,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
I got to think it's hard
so
too,
yeah,
and
of
especially for the better players. And I'm
course,
looking at it from this, as you're talking, I was thinking, so we tell our families, if you join our program, you can't play for another team during our season. We
right,
don't like the conflict, the overuse. Do some
sure,
people do it? Yeah, we run into that, and we've had to kick them off teams. And
yes.
some people might just be really good at hiding it. That's what it is,
But I think
you
they
know.
are. Yeah, I would say so.
But it's like the overuse thing, it becomes exponentially greater because if you take those kids that are good at basketball and they're skilled, you have the coaches and programs. Hey, coach, my kid plays in this team, but they have practice on these nights. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Just come out to the games. We'll make it work. And then
Yep,
another coach says that. Oh, yeah, it's
sure,
okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we didn't come out over here. Yeah, it's okay. Just tell us when I got practice there and you can skip ours and come to this day or whatever. It's fine. And
sure,
so they think because, oh, look, all these teams are making all these concessions, they let us come through. That's great. We can come to all
right,
these practices. So
sure,
then that is overuse.
Yes.
All these coaches are saying, yeah, come on through. You don't have to come to practice. Just come out to the games. I got a jersey in the back of the truck. Here you go. Come play on Saturday. You can only make two of the games. Hey, don't worry about it.
Yep.
Like, is that really because they're going to make them better? Or
No.
they just need this really good athlete for the win? Like, let's be
Yeah, of
real here.
course.
Like,
Right.
this
Yeah,
is the
for
world
sure.
of, honesty, right? Like, it's
Right.
what it is, what it is.
Right.
So if we're looking at it from that standpoint, these kids are being pulled from all different corners. Parents are being told, "Hey, your kid can play here. They're really good. Put them on our select team, and yeah, they can
Yeah.
still play here. But yeah, that team could be the priority. But just come here when you can make it." And so they're juggling all these different teams, and they're going
Yeah.
to this practice, maybe going to that practice, but they're going to all these games. I
Yeah.
had kids where when we used to coach at the middle school, I had one kid. He sprained his ACL or something with
Oh.
his knee. I don't want to say
Wow.
it's ACL, but he
Sure.
sprained something in his knee.
Okay.
And he was out for a little bit, I think like a week,
Mm.
right? But it should have been longer.
Sure.
And then I'm thinking the kid's out for the season.
Yeah.
Come to find out, he played on like three different club teams. And then
Oh.
he came out to play for one of our teams. And I'm
Oh.
looking at the guy. I was like, no, what are you doing? You just, you were this close
Just
to tearing everything in your knee. How you're
right.
walking is a miracle to me. But
Right.
again, this kid was good at basketball.
Sure.
You think if this kid isn't good at basketball, he's being asked to play for three different teams? No.
Right. No,
But
of
again,
course.
hey, he can help us win. And when he's done playing, is anybody really going to care? They're
No.
going to check up on him when he's 18, 19, he's out of high school?
No.
No. It's on to the next kid. But
If
they'll
he gets
think like,
hurt,
ooh, I'm special because it's like when you get offers letters for college, right? I got all these letters. Yeah, but how many of them were real?
sure.
Like I wasn't recruited, but I was getting letters in high school from some school in North Carolina and this school. They don't know me. Like those are
Sure.
just I'm thinking I'm
Sure.
special. Look, mom, I got an offer
Right.
letter. I got some letter to play. Like this is probably something they send out like to everybody in the world probably got one.
Sure.
Like my grandma probably
Yeah.
got one. I don't but it makes you think, ooh, look, I'm special. They took the time to
Sure.
ask me. I must be talented. Look how I'm wanted by all these programs and teams. It's
Yeah.
like at the end of the
Sure.
day, they just want you for the win. Let's be honest
They-
about it. They
right.
wouldn't ask you unless you were
Right.
good.
If you could hoop. Right.
And if you are going to say yes to all these teams, that's going to be overuse.
Yes.
Because if they're as high levels they say they are, you're playing against really good players, really good teams. You're bouncing here, you're bouncing there. Parents are going from this team to the next.
Yep.
And it's also overuse on the families. It's overuse
Yes.
mentally. It's overuse on
Yes.
travel. It's overuse on
Yes.
money. You think you're helping. Like how many times have you had a parent say, "Coach, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I'm just trying to make the right decision. This is all new to me."
Sure.
Fair. That's fair.
Fair. Yeah.
But what I will say is this: if it's really that straining, it's
Mhm.
probably too much.
Maybe.
It might be
Yeah.
too much. Maybe step
Maybe.
back a little bit. Where can I take out some of the pieces?
Yeah.
And maybe where can I add some new ones that can help us stabilize the rest of it?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
again,
I mean,
if you're going to play for five teams, that's overuse to me.
yeah, I agree. No, so if you were to say, right, we've gone over this before, like with the benefits of being multi-sport athlete, right? There's a couple of
Yeah.
benefits to it. There's a lot.
Hmm.
You can get down to, just getting different communication and different you're getting it spoken to you differently, so you can understand that piece, right? This learning how to communicate with different people in different atmospheres, right? Different situations. It will help with performance. Like I found that we find that soccer, the things that you learn in soccer as far as
Yes.
footwork goes, translate very well into basketball.
Very well.
Very, very well. Um, that you experience that you're gaining just with being in team atmospheres. It's another plus, right? And another thing I found sometimes is there's burnout, right? You got one kid, he's only been playing for one team, he's only played one sport. It can limit that. So because again, they're getting different experiences, right? They're using different muscles, they're using different parts of their brain, using different parts of their bodies. So there are some benefits to it, but I think what's happening is nobody's weighing the pros and the cons and the benefits, right, against what the problems can be, and I think
Yeah.
that's a big problem.
Yeah. When it
Yeah,
comes to multiple sports, there are benefits if it's done right
if it's
because it
done
helps
right.
to create a more well-rounded athlete.
Mhm.
Like if you're playing basketball, there's multi-directional movement there. You know,
Yes.
some quick movements, some slow movements, change of direction, up, down, left, right, jumping. If
Yep.
you're doing track, different qualities. If it's like a sprinting, it's a little more linear, but it's really about max effort. You
Max
don't get
effort.
that max effort intensity in basketball a lot. It's usually kind of near it, somewhere between. Football, different, maybe a little more lateral movement, start, stop, learning how to take contact more.
Yep.
Baseball, like hand eye, like there's all different things. Swimming. So if your kids are doing multiple sports, there are benefits. The
Mhm.
problem is when you do them all at the same time. Like if I'm a
Yes.
chef and I got to cook 20 meals at the same time, they may not all be quality. But if you give me the chance to make them all one at a time, I can
Sure.
give you good quality with each one. But everybody wants to throw it all into one bucket and try to make it work. And
Yeah.
can some people do it? Maybe.
Sure.
But
Okay.
should that be the rule? Probably not. Again, I'm all for kids playing multiple sports,
Yeah.
just not at the same time
Mhm.
unless those sports are at a lower level. Like there
Yeah.
used to be this thing called like mini hoops or something, or it was a thing they had back in Foster City, and it was the size of a small little store, and it had maybe this tiny basketball gym that was maybe
Okay.
30 feet, long and maybe 20 feet wide. And they had these little hoops, and the little kids would go there. They'd be like, first, second grade, kindergarten, and they're all
Yeah.
bouncing the ball. They're all traveling. They don't know what they're doing, but they're just having fun.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do that every day,
Great. Yeah.
right? And if there's baseball for that too, do that too.
Do that
It's
too.
not that intense. It's more about their participation. Hype up the kids, cheer them on, make them feel great. If you're doing
Yeah.
that in other sports at the same time, I have no
Sure.
problem.
Sure.
But you're not going to do that unless you're Deion Sanders.
Sure.
Then do what you want to do,
Hey, do what you want.
right?
Do what you
If you're
want.
Bo
Yep.
Jackson, but
Do
that
what you want.
didn't work out for Bo Jackson, right?
Oh man.
But
Yeah. Sure.
these are the exceptions.
Right.
That's why you don't see guys playing in the NFL, in the MLB, in the NBA at the same time. Like
Sure.
hell, they even have in their contracts, if you play for our team, you can't do these
Can't do
activities
it like
or
this.
your
Right.
contract gets messed up, right?
Right.
So because we don't want you getting hurt doing something dumb.
Sure.
If we're asking kids to give nearly the same quality of work as a professional athlete, why
Yep.
do we not give them the opportunities to stabilize those sports, right?
Sure.
Like all these parents, not all of them, but the ones that do. My
Yep.
kid's got potential. Like he's got to play at the highest level. He needs to play on the select team. He's gonna make it one day. I don't know, maybe he'll play varsity for this really good high school. And I don't know. Just thinking, if he happens to go into college, and we'll see what happens next.
Mhm.
If you're even thinking that far,
Yeah.
what would an athlete at that level be doing to
Yeah.
prepare for that?
For that. Sure.
But if you're not doing the things that that guy would do, how does your track prepare you for that level when
Sure.
you're doing a million things? Like I've seen some of the best athletes that I've met that played at a pretty solid level. They're focused on recovery. They're focused
Yeah.
on stretching. They're focused on nutrition. They're focused on strength training. They're focused on detailed skill training. They're focused
Yeah.
on getting the right work. They're focused on talking to the right people. They're focused on narrowing down their circle of friends, right? Like all these things that
Yeah.
come along with
Sure.
it. It's
Yeah.
it's important, but
Yeah.
there's a focus to it.
Sure.
But when your kids are doing a million things, you're not focused and you're trying to manage all these different, investors, these trainers, these coaches, these games, school homework, eating,
Yeah.
and it's not going to work out for most of
Right.
them. Again, unless you're Deion Sanders, you know, do what you're
Yeah.
going to do.
Sure.
But most of us aren't that.
Right.
And many people may never be that.
Yeah.
That's hard to come
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about kids now, right?
Right.
And still asking them to do something similar.
Sure.
Like that's not reality in my world, right?
Right.
For a lot of kids, they just end up hurt or they end up disappointed. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, even if you again, right? If you want your kid to do that, just weigh the problems that you could have, right? Right. You have very limited opportunity for rest. Just off the bat, if your kid's playing two sports at the same time during the same season, one of my kids says he has 4 soccer practices a week on top of the 2 basketball practices that I have. Like again,
Jesus.
rest, right? right? Not only that, you create challenging for schedules, right? I've had people say, "Hey, coach, I can come to the morning game, but I can't come to the afternoon game." Or they'll say, "Can we switch the games from morning until late afternoon? Because at that point, then we can make it. But if you don't switch it, then we can't make it." Again, it just creates these scheduling things that now you're asking me to, change everybody's schedule because you are prioritizing your whatever other sport that would be, to come back on. So again, right, as a coach, again, you make concessions, right? You go, okay, look, if that's what you're doing, especially if you do it earlier on and they're still on the team. But you have to understand the issues that it does bring to everybody, not just you, to everyone, right? Like another thing, it would be, just not only, I don't want to talk about the money piece, but it can become an issue because now you're saying, oh well, now you don't have money for the trainings, now you don't have money for other things. It can be very time consuming as well. Just a lot of information out there's. Again, you're going to have pros
It
and
is a
cons.
piece from our standpoint
From our standpoint,
because
it is. Yeah,
if you
sure,
have, let's say, the worst case scenario I've had, you've got 3 or 4 kids.
sure.
They each play on 2 or 3 different teams. When I used to
Hmm.
be okay with it, hey
Yeah,
coach, I got I got 4 of them. I got to pay the other team over
yeah,
there. Like, do you mind if we get a discount?
yeah,
So because you chose to put your kid on 3 or 4 different
yeah,
teams,
yeah.
now we all have to eat the cost
Hmm.
because you have
Well,
too many places to go.
if we want
Again,
them, right?
nothing wrong with you having 4 kids. I'm not
No,
even going there. I'm just
sure.
saying you have that many kids and you're going to spread them out along all these programs, then
Hmm.
ask us to eat the cost.
Right.
It's like, pick
Yeah,
one. Don't really care
pick
where
one.
you go.
Sure.
But as somebody
Yeah,
running a business that has bills to pay,
sure,
that cost has to come from somewhere. Those
sure,
tournaments don't get cheaper because you ask for a discount. The
sure.
uniform doesn't get cheaper because you ask for a discount. The gym
Right.
rentals don't get cheaper because you ask for a discount. The coaches don't get paid less because you ask for a discount. Like the
Yeah.
basketball and equipment I need doesn't get cheaper. Like it's everything. But
Right.
when you ask for a discount, you think like there's some magical like scholarship fund that we can all pull from, like the penny
Yeah.
jar at 7-Eleven. Like
Hmm.
this is not magic. That
Sure.
gets taken out of something,
Yeah.
and someone's got to eat that cost. And so if you're going to
Yeah.
choose to do that and ask, "Hey, coach, I know it's tough," it wouldn't be tough if you just picked one.
Pick one. Just pick one.
Again,
Again,
that's fine. I have no
if you
problem with
want
it. If you
us,
and if you choose them,
great.
hey, more power to you.
Good
You know.
luck. Hope it
But
goes
again,
well.
I understand what it feels like from the business side perspective as the
Yeah.
coaching of the program, and
Sure.
I know other coaches have gone through that too because I've talked to some. Hey,
Sure.
these guys asked for a discount. Yeah, they used to play for me. Yeah, they did the same thing to me. Oh man, really? Again, that word gets around about us. I get it. It gets around
Yeah.
about families too. I
Sure.
talk to other coaches where
Yeah.
if people go
Yeah.
to somewhere else or vice
Yeah.
versa and say, "Hey, did you
Yeah.
have?" Yeah, I did. Hey, did they used to do this? Okay.
Hmm.
How'd you deal with it? I don't know, but I don't get to deal with it no
Yeah.
more.
Sure.
So that's on
Right.
you now. But
Right.
that's a big part of it too, because
Yeah.
finances, that's life. Like you
Sure.
have bills to pay as a family. I
Hmm.
understand that. You've got rent, you got your mortgage. If your kid goes to
Yes.
a Catholic school, you've
Yeah.
got tuition due. You got the
Hmm.
uniform fees. You
Hmm.
got food, bills, PG&E, cell
Yeah.
phones.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, maybe you guys go on a vacation when you're all
Maybe.
able to.
Hmm.
Like I get it. I'm not saying that this is cheap, but I'm also saying that this isn't cheap for us either. This isn't
Right.
free. Like
Sure.
gym rentals get expensive and they go
Hmm.
up all the time.
Sure.
Gym rental prices have not gone down. I don't care what
Right.
the interest rates are. It does
Yeah.
not impact our gym rental fees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It doesn't.
they could be 1%. Gym rental
Yeah.
fees still go up. It's
Still go up.
not
Doesn't
it's not
matter.
a factor,
Sure.
and that's a
Yeah.
cost we still have to take.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's something people need to understand all around. And as much as we're talking about overuse physically, there's overuse financially,
Yes.
and that's a big part of it too.
Hmm.
Can you afford this? If you
Yeah.
can't, really think about it. You don't have
Yeah.
to do that. Like I talked to a dad over the summer, and this wasn't about financial. He would ask, "Hey, coach, when are your tryouts?" I told him, "Okay, cool. He's like, so yeah, we're new to the AU thing. We haven't done it before. And I told him, what do you value, like with your family? Like, are you guys big into sports, or do you guys go on vacations a lot? Do you guys do hikes or picnics, or what do you guys do? He's like, oh yeah, we like to go on hikes a lot. We like to go here on vacations a lot. And I said, okay, then don't do this.
Yeah, that's
Because if
fair.
you value that stuff,
Hmm.
keep that stuff.
Yeah.
Like some families are all in. Like we're all about the sports and we love it and this is what we're doing.
Hmm.
That's cool. Then do this. But
Sure.
if you're a family that values your summers,
Hmm.
going on vacation, spending time with your kids, you
Yeah.
know, going overseas, hiking, camping, whatever it
Sure.
is,
Hmm.
do that. Your kid can
Yeah.
still play basketball,
Yeah. Of course. Of
but
course.
don't sacrifice the things that you feel are important while your kids are still young, because
Yeah.
one day they won't be, and
Hmm.
you'll never get these times back. So if
Yes, sir.
this is where you feel your kids can bond in the sport, go
Yeah.
for it. But if your kids bonding is something else,
Yeah.
then do that. Enjoy that time with your kids because it will not be here forever. By the time you
Hmm.
know it, they'll be older and they'll be out somewhere and you'll see them once every 6 months.
Sure.
But take this time now to
Take the time
understand
now.
what do you value. Like
Yeah.
there's an overuse in that as well. We're overusing our time. I can't spend time with my kids because they have too many practices. We have too many games. We
Yeah.
can't go visit. Like I have one kid is grandma lives in like Italy and they'd go there like every summer. If that's
Yeah.
important to you, do that. I'm not going to
Right.
stop you from doing that.
Sure.
Just understand, don't take away from what's valuable to you as a family,
Sure.
right? Right?
Right.
Or else you'd be overusing your time and you're not going to get that back. That will
Right.
end someday.
It will end someday for sure. I mean, even for us, right? We put a lot of time into this. I have a family. You have a family. A lot of time. And basically, what you're saying is that other program or the other team or whatever, their time is more valuable than my time, with the time that I'm taking out of my family time to be here and coaching.
Yes.
Right? It's like if I'm taking the time, it's not. This is not just oh, I only look at things when I have practice. No, no, no. That's not what I do. That's not what you do. We talk shop. We say, hey, what do you think about this? We look at film. We look at, we go above and beyond to give our teams and to prepare our teams the best that they can so they can perform well,
Yeah.
leaving places early to make sure that we're there to prepare our players. That's what we
Hmm.
do. So by you taking the time to make sure that you're available for those other people, now you're taking the time away from me that I'm taking away from somebody else. So, again, I think there's a lot of elements to this. It's not just about, oh, I want my kid to play as many things as possible. I want him to experience as many things as possible. There's so many elements to that, and there's so many nuances to that, and there's so many pros and cons to all of that. But again, it's looking at the situations as a whole, as opposed to compartmentalizing them into saying, breaking it down, simplifying it, saying, I just want my kid to play more, whatever it is. I want my kid to play more sports. I want them to have more experiences when they're
Hmm.
playing sports. Um, and I think that's when you get into trouble. So even if, so again, talking about this, besides something like making sure they have an off season, how do you, how would you recommend parents map out or look at recovery? Like what do you suggest? Just age of information, right? We can go into it like that. There's information everywhere. You can go online and Google youth athlete recovery, multi-sport athlete recovery. You can break it down into a situation where you can find information like, what do you recommend parents do for recovery aside from just the obvious thing, which is giving them an off season.
I think listen and learn. I,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I talked to one coach before, and he's like, "Look, I know basketball. I know nothing about the other stuff. X's and
Sure.
O's plays. That's what I know.
Hmm.
But I don't know anything about strength and conditioning, recovery,
Yeah. Okay.
activation, mobility, stability. That I don't know what that means. Cool, it's fine. So find a place where you can learn that stuff, like
Hmm.
parents. Study, look it up. Look for people that do understand that stuff. Again, I I think in my world, when I talk to people about that, I think they think I'm just talking. And
Of
like,
course.
he has no idea what he's talking about. And
Yeah,
I'm
they
just
don't
like, okay.
understand.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine. If
Yeah.
you don't want to hear it, I'm not going to spend my time talking.
Sure.
But find someone else that does then.
Sure.
Who will you listen to? You don't have to listen to me, but listen to
Yeah.
somebody and study that part of this world of athletics or just human movement and just being a human being. Like
Mm-hmm.
recovery, activation, you know, preparation, that's good for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if people start to, like, if you went on YouTube and looked up like preseason strength training for basketball
Mm-hmm.
or like, in season recovery for basketball, and you
Yeah.
watch maybe 4 or 5 videos straight, the
Yeah.
algorithm would start to just feed you
To feed you information.
videos upon
Yeah.
videos, your
Yep.
shorts, your long form video.
Yep.
Somehow
Yep.
Instagram would know that you're watching these, and then your
Exactly.
Facebook posts, and
Yep.
everybody that's involved in our world would just be hitting you with all these videos, and the
Mm-hmm.
information would just come to you.
Sure.
You'd be like, "Oh yeah, I saw this video the other day, and it was about this guy, and he was talking about the contact of the foot and why the big toe is important and why it
Yeah.
needs this." Oh, really? Okay. Like just experiment with that information,
Yeah.
see it, learn it, and then you'll start to find the people that make sense. Some of
Yeah.
it's gonna go over your head. Some
Of
people will get
course.
very technical. Like I'll listen to some
Mm-hmm.
podcasts and I'm listening to it. And I'm like, okay, if the regular person were to hear what they're saying, they would get none of this. This guy's
Right.
he's talking
Yeah.
about the actual name of the
Uh-huh.
muscles and how the
Yeah.
origin insertion starts
Fastest
here.
media.
And I'm
And
like,
yeah.
okay, I like this stuff. But now make it digestible to families
Sure.
that don't understand this.
Mm-hmm.
How is this important? And I think in my case, sometimes I might go overboard with it. And I just start like, you need all this, you need all this. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not super digestible to where they can
Sure.
take one piece, really absorb it. That's a good idea. Let me
Sure.
try that. Cool. Hey, coach, that worked. You got something else? And I think in my case, sometimes it's like, your kid needs this, your kid needs that. Don't worry about this. Oh, his foot this and the mobility. And then you got to work on the Achilles. Oh, his anterior tibs. Like, look, he needs stronger these.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, coach, you threw too much at me. And I get
Yeah.
that. I do that at times.
Sure.
But just start to understand, listen, and learn. And then look at what your kids are doing.
Yeah.
Ask them, what do you really want to do? What's important to you? And then start to cut out some of the pieces that you can. And some of them will have to be hard choices because
Yeah.
you'll have to take some of the information now that you've gained around preseason development, in-season training, recovery, and now put that to use. And that's
Yeah.
going to take some of the time away from something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just be willing to listen and learn, find
Okay.
information, and then
Yeah.
utilize it.
Yeah.
There's
Trim
a
the
ton of
fat, so to
people in this
speak.
space that are great at that stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody glorifies the skills trainer. Like
They
they
do.
get all the shine.
They do.
But the guys that help the athletes become athletically gifted so they can do this skill stuff, they're the ones that
Yes.
get overlooked. But yeah, you can't forget that part.
Shout out them. Yeah. No.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
That makes absolute sense. What you're saying. Um, those are the ones who keep those athletes going. Why do you think LeBron is 40 still able to play at the clip he's able to play at?
Because he's
Why is
LeBron.
that? Well, well,
He's LeBron.
well, but listen, but right, he's LeBron, but right, how much time and energy does he put into his recovery? How much time and energy does he have
Yeah.
to put into his body in order to prepare himself for a season? Like, what does he have to put his body through as a 40-year-old man? I get he's
$1
physically
million.
gifted. $1 million.
Yeah.
No, really, like that.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? $1 million a year. That has to do with food, right? Nutrition, right? Recovery, mobility, strength, flexibility, all those things. He has to do all those things. He spends $1 million a year just so he can play basketball for a season. That's how important it is to work on your body, to build yourself up, so to prepare yourself for that. So if he's putting $1 million in his body and he's made it all the way to the pinnacle, right, of basketball, and you're doing what to prepare your body for the workload that you expect him to be able to play. So I think that's definitely something that people should take more seriously. It is something that does happen. The kids are getting hurt a lot more than they used to in the past, as far as like ACL injuries at a younger age, ankle issues, like you said, back problems at 12. If you notice your kid's always hurt, if you notice your kid there's always something going on with them, maybe time to take a step back and go, okay, why is he always hurt? We need to figure this out. But throwing games at them is not going to solve the problem. So, but again, that's just my opinion.
That's just our opinion. Again, none of this is meant to be taken as fact. This is all our opinion. Please consult a doctor. We are not medical professionals.
We are not medical professionals.
Right. Should have put that at the beginning.
Yeah, but it's okay. As long as we get it in there, it's in there now.
Yeah. But yeah, look, here at the end of the day, and I think we'll close it with this. It's already like an hour and 20-minute video. What do your kids want to do? Have honest conversations with them. What sports do they want to play? If sports is where they want to go, find a program that fits what you guys are looking for, that has the values and things that you want out of a program, and then stick with it. And if at some point you feel like that program is no longer something that, is within your framework and you want to move on, do that. But don't fill the basket just to fill it, right? Leave room for other things, because other things will come up. Life happens, and injuries are a big part of that. And so, if your kids are going to play sports, make sure that they pick a sport that they feel that they enjoy, that they love playing, that's fun, that they're willing and motivated within themselves to put forth the work, to go forth and compete and get ready, so they don't feel forced to do it. And really study what's necessary to be successful in this area. And you're going to make mistakes. Everybody will.
It's going to happen. Of course.
You'll do something, you'll think, we need speed training every day. And no, you don't. But, hey, you read somewhere that was important, you tried it, and then you start to learn. And over time, you start to figure out what's right. But don't overfill your basket. Find the things that are important and just monitor one day at a time.
One day at a time. Great advice. Great advice. All right, man.
Cool.
It's a tough one. Heavy.
Yeah. And speaking of overuse, check out 2025 Summer Hoops Academy coming up.
2025 Summer Hoops Academy.
Summer camp. 5 days
I like the plug.
8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
You gotta get the plug.
No, but we're good at maintaining a balance, right? Your kids aren't working for like 7 straight hours. There's recovery, there's rest, there's talking, there's film sessions. We're watching games on the TV. We're doing studying stuff. We're doing warm-up and preparation. So all that's involved. But definitely want to put that shot out there. Get ready.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it.
Be on the lookout. We may have some things coming up as well.
Oh, yeah.
Some other, again, that 10%, man. We're always trying to build, always trying to get better. And our goal is to, prepare players, whether they play for us or not, to be proficient, to just get better. And that's our goal, is to help people get better. And that's what we want. So either you stay with us or you go somewhere else. Doesn't matter to us. We'd love you to play with us. We'd love you to be here. We'd love you to stay here. But, any time we can have any kind of hand in a kid's development, right? That's a beautiful thing. And that's what I love about the sport. I love being able to help. And it's something special about seeing kids that you once coached run up to you and talk to you, and you see where they are now and see how they're developing. And it's an awesome thing. So, it's all good. Yeah.
And Coach Ken I think he put it out there, but we're not going to announce it yet or say something. But there might be something coming up over the summer. It's a surprise. We're working on something.
We're working on something. To see how it works out.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Follow, like, subscribe.
Subscribe, hit that button, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, anyways, I think that's good for today. Video looked good. I think we're working all right. This episode is done. And so, Coach White, Coach Ken, we'll catch y'all later. Peace.